Hello everybody, my name is Atlas, and welcome on back to another review. Okay, we don't need to talk about the fact that it has literally been a year since I uploaded a review, okay? I was doing stuff. Anyway, as you can see by the new poster I have in the background, Attack on Titan has made an incredible impression on me. It was an absolute masterpiece of a show, from so many different angles. It was so good, in fact, that I've been trying to write this review for the past few weeks, but each time I wrote a script, I went into like way too much detail about the genius of the show, of like a single aspect of the show. So this is going to try and condense the important bits from those previous scripts. First of all, the soundtrack for the show is just absolutely stunning. And I really want to focus on the intros for this segment of the video because I just loved each and every single one of them. They do an excellent job of capturing the emotions of every single arc in the story. For example, intro number 1, Gurren no Yumiya, does an excellent job of capturing humanity's rage at being trapped behind the walls like livestock, as well as the determination of humanity to fight back. Now, I could go on like this for every single intro and outro song. My absolute favorite song on the soundtrack is Name of Love, which literally made me cry while listening to it. But yeah, absolutely stunning soundtrack. Good animation is a staple of just about any well-received modern-day anime, and Attack on Titan's animation is spectacular. The way characters just glide across the screen using their omnidirectional mobility gear in such a crisp and satisfying way. Like, that's beautiful. I want to briefly run through some of the best animation in the series, so I'll leave a bit of a spoiler warning here. In Season 1, the fight between Levi and the female Titan is absolutely jaw-dropping. Levi feels like a literal fucking Beyblade, okay? Season 2 intro is incredibly well animated, with Mikasa grabbing Eren and literally just flinging him, sending him flying towards the armored Titan, where he bites down on his hand and just seamlessly transforms. I also really like the animation of the battle between Eren and Reiner, with Eren cracking open his armor like he's a crab leg at a Chinese buffet. And Season 3 is probably the peak of the show's stunning animation, with the fucking incredible battle scenes between Levi and Kenny in both of the fights, both the first and second. It's also incredibly satisfying to watch Levi go Beyblade mode on the Beast Titan. And, you know, that's where the jaw-dropping animation ends. Season 4 saw the animators really press for time. I mean, I kind of get it, though. You know, there were a lot of fucking Titans. And not just during the rumbling. But overall, spectacular animation. Attack on Titan's strongest selling point is probably its exceptional storytelling abilities, and nowhere is that more reflected than in the characters of said story. Now, some people might tell you that Eren, Mikasa, and Armin, the main cast of the show, are bland and the like, and that this makes them bad characters. Well, I would entirely disagree with that. You see, obviously, Eren, Mikasa, and Armin aren't incredibly out there, you know, wacky or eccentric at the start of the show. But this caters incredibly well to the show's intent. One of the best things of Attack on Titan is how well they incorporate magical realism, essentially the concept of having a magical, fictitious world, but with incredibly real-feeling characters and societal infrastructure. You know, like the circumstances of the world are obviously fictitious, but they still deal with problems that we deal with in society today and the like. But anyway, this is what makes Eren, Mikasa, and Armin such great characters. They feel incredibly real, and while they still have personality, they're not overly loud or eccentric like most anime characters would be. They rather feel like normal people, like real people, and this makes it incredibly easy to put yourself in their shoes and sympathize with them. The other reason their character design is ingenious is because instead of giving them super quirky personality traits at the start of the show, they let the insane circumstances around them change them and turn them into pretty complex characters. It's like how coal starts out as this unremarkable substance, but then the pressure around them turns them into diamonds. Eren, who starts out with very clear goals and is pretty much firmly established as the good guy, changes so incredibly much from season 1 to season 4. Watching so many people give their whole lives to protect him, that kind of scars the dude. He fervently pursues freedom, which makes total sense living cooped up in the walls all his life, but ends up with what I would argue is a lot less freedom than he ever had before. It's incredibly tragic how the ability to see into the past and the future, as well as impact those events, completely fucks him up. I mean, it makes sense, but it's just so incredibly fucking sad, right? Forget Oedipus the King. How about we write an essay on Attack on Titan, okay? What if your dad gave birth to you, intending on passing the ability onto you to see the past and future, which ultimately locks you into a series of events that he ultimately caused, forcing you to make an incredibly tough decision where either way, half the world will fucking despise you. And then when you eventually make that decision, your dad starts bawling about how you are about to do such horrible things, even though he basically forced you into that position. Fuck Dr. Yeager, man. People despise Eren for what he did. Well, at least he had the fucking balls to actually do something about the horrible situation they were in, instead of being a pussy and passing on all his responsibilities to his son. Sorry about that rant, but Jesus. Mikasa is 100% my favorite character in the show, and for good reason. She starts out as this kind of brooding-esque type girl, but one who's incredibly loyal to her family and the people she loves. And she loves them through thick and thin, as well as being an incredibly talented fighter. And personally, I think that while Mikasa did change in some ways, I think her core values really never changed at all. And honestly, I think the same for Eren too. Anyways, Mikasa eventually gets up the courage to stand up to Eren in order to save the rest of the world and kill him, despite him being the love of her life. Once again, this is an incredibly tragic situation, since she gets put into a position where only the Ackermans can take out Eren, and Levi just conveniently happens to be severely fucking injured. But the reason I say her core values never changed is because I believe in the manga she remembers her conversation with Eren and what his intentions were. So I think despite the incredibly hard thing she had to do, she was partially doing it for Eren, so he could be set free, I think. But yeah, you think Romeo and Juliet was a fucking tragedy? Well, at least Juliet didn't have to lob Romeo's head off, bro. Anyway, I was planning on a section for the story of Attack on Titan, but I think by just trying to unpack the character development of these two characters showcased how complex and intricate the fucking story is. One thing I do want to talk about, though, is this show's incredible ability to foreshadow. A lot of shows just take a concept and kind of just roll with it, add in the details as they go along. They think up the next season while the first one is airing. With Attack on Titan, literally everything's fucking deliberate. From the very first episode, the foreshadowing was there. Not so much that you would understand on your first watch through, of course. That would be a bad thing. But when you watch it again, there are so many moments that foreshadow events up until the show's end. You realize the signs were everywhere. And one of the best spots they hid these bits and pieces of foreshadowing were in the outros. Take, for instance, Outro 2. If you look at the cave drawings in this intro, depending on how you interpret it, it could be either fighting between the Marleyans and Eldians in the past, or potentially during Season 4. That's not even the biggest bombshell in this intro, though. Here we have the scene of Mikasa standing in the rain next to a rock. And I didn't even notice this until I read the comments of this intro, that there's a praying mantis painted on that rock right next to Mikasa. And for those of you who don't know, female praying mantises are notorious for eating the heads off their mates. Meaning this literally foreshadows Mikasa chopping off Eren's head. And that's just kind of fucking mind-blowing to me. Season 2's outro shows a bunch of creepy Gregorian-esque paintings, which just seem like creepy paintings when you watch it for the first time. But these paintings literally depict the entire past of Attack on Titan, with King Fritz killing Ymir's children in one of the paintings, the Titans, terrorizing Marley, and even shows us the Rumbling, which is not the past, the future. It's still pretty fucking insane. Season 3's first ending doesn't do that much foreshadowing, but there's a special creepy alternate ending for episode 49. And that one basically cues us into this clip of Mikasa almost killing Levi, and that's a few episodes before the Battle of Shinshigana begins. Now, Season 3's second ending doesn't seem to be foreshadowing anything based off the images it displays, but if you listen to the lyrics of the song playing, it foreshadows the ending of Season 4. The song being played here is Name of Love by Cinema Staff, which I mentioned was my favorite song of the soundtrack. And basically, if you read the lyrics, it's essentially like Eren's kind of last goodbye to Mikasa and his friends. He talks about how he wants both of them and him to remember each other, including the truth about me, which is obviously Eren's real intentions behind the rumbling. It also just talks about hoping to meet again someday in the future, man. And at that point, for me, the tears just started rolling, man. But yeah, I would say that foreshadowing is one of the elements that takes Attack on Titan to the next level. I would talk about world building, but this video has gone on way too long, and one look at the slides of public information, or information for public disclosure, shows you how well developed the world is. So, now, after all that flattery, it's time to rate Attack on Titan. Through the exceptional world building, character design, music, and animation, it's no wonder that Attack on Titan is one of the most beloved animes of all time. And honestly, it's probably my favorite anime of all time as well. That's why I think it's pretty fitting that I give Attack on Titan an exceptional 9.6 out of 10. If you haven't watched this show yet, then do yourself a favor and watch it. Hopefully it blows you away like it did for me. But thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, leave a like and consider subscribing if you enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one.